G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here with a brand new video. I've been looking at this game for a little while now. I've been looking for something else to play, basically. It turns out that I've been hanging out for the First Men, it's called, which is a game it's sort of very much in the RimWorld art style, very similar to RimWorld in a lot of ways, except you play in a fantasy realm. And so I've also been mucking around with RimWorld a little bit and thinking about making some videos on that. I saw that this Rise to Ruins came up on Steam on sale, so I jumped and got it, and I've been playing with it a little bit, so I'm going to give you some videos on this. I don't profess to be an absolute expert in any way, shape or form. I have watched the tutorial video that's included with the game, and that's pretty much about it. So we're going to jump right on in. I will leave the tips on. We're playing InDev 33 release. Apparently the new feature in this release is trash. Not that it's bad, not that it's terrible or anything. It actually is that there is a system of trash in the game. So if you harvest something and don't use it straight away, so look, this resource you see down here is food. That looks to be turnips or radishes or something. If you harvest that and you leave it sitting there, it'll eventually turn to trash. And too much trash around, slimes get produced and they will come and attack you. So I started playing the game and didn't really realize that was in there, and jumped on in, and suddenly I'm getting slimes coming from every which way, and I wasn't sure how to handle that. So instead, the idea is that you do the trash to get around that. I'm going to just start playing on traditional. I know survival is what you're supposed to do it on, but you know me, I like to enjoy my games. I don't like it to be too hard. So this is going to be a playthrough on traditional mode. Now, I've also had a bit of a look around. So you have this entire map here that you can play on all these different spots. And the idea is that once you've played in one area and you've built up your little colony there, you can set up a colonization outpost on there, or a little building anyway, which allows you to then send people off. A number of your I can't remember the name, the guy called it in tutorial, but it was like his pixels, your people basically, and send them off, and then you can colonize nearby areas. So for example, if we picked Apple Meadow here, you can see that there's 4 lines branching off that, which means that I could go from Apple Meadow, I could go to Gateway, I could go to Clearland, I could go to Lorica, or I could go down to Strongvale. So that's interesting. The other thing, I suppose, that's of interest in the game, at least from what I can see so far, is that there really isn't a win condition in this game. Unlike, say, RimWorld, where you can build the spaceship and leave, and that's your win condition, there isn't one in this game right now that I'm aware of. So what happens is we will pick a location. I know the one that I want to pick, and we'll start there, and this blight appears, and it starts to slowly creep across the location. And it's surviving that blight and all of the slimes and monsters and undead that get spawned by it. That's what you're trying to do, is survive all of that for as long as you can. And there are goals that you've got here. Survive 3 days, survive 7 days, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, and 63. Once we unlock survive 3 days, there's a new goal. I think like one of them is to survive 1 day in every single location. Things like that. Now, there are multiple resources in every location. So if we just click in here, and this gives us our little map then, there is stone, obviously. These green and brown areas are often trees, although sometimes the brown is just dirt and mud. The normal green is grass. You got your water. Then there's crystals. So most of this bright red, this purple, and this yellow here are probably crystal, but there are also vegetation that you can, food basically, that you can use. And so whenever you start off a location, you need to be near stone and wood because they're your primary building supplies, and you need to be near water and food. Survival Island, wow, sounds like fun. I have recently tried out North Oak and actually found it a really good location. So I'm going to take you in there and we'll have a look at it, and I'll show you why I think it's a good location to start from. Okay, so you have to place your camp first. Now, we can scroll around, and I'm actually going to bring up the map here, and I'm going to make it a bit larger. So we've got all of this woodland here, right, with just these grassy paths between it all and dead trees. And then there's some vegetation down here that, that's all turnips or carrots or something. And then up here, this section here that we can see, which is this along here, that's all stone. Right, and then we have this section across the top here, which is all green grass with some more trees. There's ruins of various things dotted all over the place. I'll get into those a little bit later. We've got some crystal up here. The crystal comes in several different colours. So these are like brown crystals. There's some more crystal here, and then over here we've got this ancient colour skate. We've got some more vegetation, some carrots up here, and some of the blue crystal. We've got a stream that comes through here, and then we've got the rest of this grassland over here, which is the top part of this. Down this side of the map, we've got this big section here of stone with a little bit of trees along the edge of it. More stone, more crystal, some turnips and carrots and stuff. The river coming through, more stone, some trees down the bottom here. So you've got this big section of grassland all through the middle with a little bit of trees and stuff in the middle of it. Some water there, some water there, and some water down here. All right. Now, I think this is a really good place because when the blight appears, it'll appear along the edges of the map somewhere. And if we plop ourselves down right here in the middle of the map, this section here, which is where we're actually looking at the moment, if we plop ourselves down here, we have a really good opportunity, if we need to, from this block of stone here across to this block of stone here, we can put a wall if the blight starts somewhere up in the top of the map up here, right? And we can stop the blight from getting down too far to us too quickly. And then conversely, if the blight starts somewhere on the bottom side of the map, down this way somewhere along the edges, we can put a wall starting from, say, about here, the end of this stone, all the way across here to the woods. And if we need to, we can go through the woods to this block of stone here. And if we absolutely need to, we can put a wall from this block of stone up to that one and wall ourselves in this middle section here. It doesn't give us a huge amount of area to play with, but the idea is that no matter where around the edge of the map the blight starts, we can put a wall in the appropriate place to stop ourselves. Now, the really interesting thing is my test playthrough that I did of this area just before, and I'm hoping this happens again. I don't know if the blight always starts on the same place on every map, but the place it started last time was right here. Right? The blight started in this area down the bottom. It started right about here and started to grow out. What it meant was that there's no easy path through this way. Like there's no direct path through the bottom here to be able to come up and attack me up here. So the creatures had to wander their way through, and they ended up having to actually come up here and then go out this way and around here because they couldn't get through that gap there for some reason. And they come up here, and then they went down, and they could get through that little gap there, or did they? Yeah, that's right, they could. And then they went up there, and then they went all the way along the top here, and then came down to try and get to me, which meant that they've got such a huge path to go through that it takes them so long to get there. You've got plenty of time to be prepared. And on this easier level, they're not going to come on the first day. They're going to come on the second day. The second night is when they're going to start to appear. So we've got a bit of time to set things up. We've also got a couple of buildings. Well, we've only really got one building here, a makeshift housing that has started off. But there's this one over here. And if we want to, eventually, if we can get up here, there's a couple of buildings up there. So there's not a huge amount of abandoned buildings here. Some maps have a lot of them, but it's a good start. So I'm going to, with that in mind, I'm going to get rid of the map. And we're going to place our camp. I'm going to do this pretty much as I did last time when I started off. And that was right here. We got some vegetables there, which I don't want to wipe out. So I basically started right about... Actually, I might... Just to make it easier, I might just come up a little bit this way. Because it's quite likely I'm going to need to want to build a wall across there. But no, I will start here. And so there we go. Now, your survivors, your pixels, whatever you want to call them, they all spawn in with some resources, and they're going to start... I've got 12 of them. They're all set as builders now, and they're going to start building up our camp, basically, which is our town centre. Now, if you come up here in your little problems menu, there's going to be, they need food, they need water, they need shelter, right? So there's no harvested food, there's no drinkable water, and there are no homes. There's 14 of them homeless right now. So we're going to need homes for them first. So we'll come into the housing menu over here on the right. Yep, telling us about assigning workers and harvesting resources. That's fine. So housing, we've got this one makeshift house up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another one up next to it, which will allow us to expand out that way and grab that. And because we want to expand out in each of the directions, I'm going to put another house here and another house down here, which will just allow us to expand out that way and expand out this way. Now, there's actually a bunch of map overlays that you can put on, and I find putting the perimeter overlay on like this allows me to see that I know that I can build anywhere inside that yellow curtain. And that allows me just to see it as it expands out. So we're going to leave that on for now. So the first thing is 4 houses. Now, we are limited into the number of buildings that we can do at the moment. We can have a maximum of 12 buildings plus an ancillary building. Ancillaries are basically warehouses. And so we will be building one of those in a little bit. But I'm going to plan out the other stuff that we're going to need, because we're going to need a couple of other things. We need food, but we also need water, and water is a little bit more important to get started. So we're going to put in a water purifier, and we're going to put him up here next to the house, or the houses. But I'm going to pause that so that we don't get too carried away on starting that straight away. So these guys take dirty water, which we're going to be able to harvest from over here, and I'll show you the harvesting in a sec. And they produce drinkable water. They also carry water, whether it's dirty or drinkable, around your village. Now we've got nomads coming in. That's going to be anywhere from 1 to 5 or so nomads who are going to walk into our town centre. Apparently they come from the edges of the map. If we look around, we'll probably be able to find them coming from somewhere. And they're generally apparently walking around, and they've got a little white circle under them, I've been told. I can't see them at the moment, but we know they're there. Okay, so if we had have watched our camp, they would have just walked into the camp there. So we've got 3 new people. Well, actually, no, we've got 5 new people. No, we've got 3 new people, but we can only have a maximum of 12 builders. So we've got 5 people sitting around doing nothing. Now, the other thing that we really quickly noticed was you saw this little sparkle here in the grass. If you click those, if you see them around and you click them, there's this little loot chest, right? And there was another one over here somewhere. There. Sometime it's a key. Now that's a key and a loot chest. Watch what happens. You got these spells up here, and this one's a grab one. So I can grab this. Actually, I can't grab the loot box. I can grab the key, though. I'm not going to grab the key yet. If I click multiple times on the loot box, it moves, and it tends to move closer towards my base. Now, I want to get it really inside my base. That, damn it. Okay, that's a good spot there. So there's the key. Let's grab the key, pick it up using this spell, and if I drop it on the box, it unlocks, and that gives me a whole bunch of resources. So if I scroll in, that's a whole bunch of bandages and rations and potions. One that I had earlier had a whole bunch of tools in it. It was absolutely great. So my guys are coming down here and they're all picking up all of these, and they're going to use some of them, and the rest they're going to hopefully store up in here. So we've got one of the houses built. They're partway through the second house, and they're partway through. There's no more wood available, so we have to give them the order to harvest some wood. So we'll come down into our little harvesting menu down here, pick that, and we basically just paint anywhere which is trees, and they're going to harvest all of that. Now, you could just sit there and paint all of this. It's all trees. Eventually you could use it all. See how it's all green? I could paint all of that. I could go over the entire map and do it. Don't. Because your guys will go and chop it all down, even if they don't really need it, and it'll rot away and it'll turn into trash, basically, and that's not a good idea. So take it a little bit at a time, but just keep an eye on if you run out of wood suddenly. That's probably the reason why, is because you've got nothing left for them to harvest. The wood will grow back. The stone, of course, won't. So we're going to set up some stone, some rock to be harvested. So we're just going to do that little section there. That'll be quite a lot. Well, actually get those two little clumps there as well, and that little clump there. That's actually quite a lot of stone. That'll last us quite a while. And I want to clear off these little things that are out in the middle of nowhere. Stone, of course, doesn't grow back, but wood does. Now we're going to set up some water as well. So we'll start. Wrong one. We'll say any of the water here you can gather, and they'll just keep going. It doesn't really. You really only need to go around the edges. You don't need to worry. And of course, I'll never use it all up. But there's also food here, so we want them to get some of that food eventually. Now, when we get a farm going, which that's the next thing that we're going to plop down, is a farm. So we've got all of our houses set up. So I'm going to give us... We've got the water purifier that's going to go in as well. As soon as they finish building those, we'll turn that one back on. But we also want a farm, and I'm going to put that farm right here. Right there. It's close to that source of food. Now what happens is the farmers, they go out, they grab that food there, and then they actually bring it back and replant it in the center of this little fence section here, and wait for it to grow fully, and then they harvest it. I don't understand why, because they can actually just harvest the food from here and it can go into the stores as well. So I don't know. It's a little bit weird, the mechanic for farming. And farming is the one thing that I find really hard in the game, because we are going to put a second farm in down here, but we're going to turn both of these off for the moment, and we're not probably going to start that second farm until we do some other things later on. But I like to queue up a certain number of things, but you have to be aware that you can only build as fast as this will let you. So we only have 12 buildings until we upgrade our camp, or we put in an ancillary, which will give us a couple more buildings at most. You can speed up the game in this, but it does warn you about the fact that because the game is still sort of experimental and everything, it may cause problems with the game. So I tend to run it on just single speed, and we'll probably run most of this. I will just do cuts between sections if I want to show you, the results of certain things. So we've built this house now, and we've gained a little bit more area, so it's pushed out our perimeter, so we can build over here soon. So when I build another building, I'm probably going to build it over there, because I want to expand out the area as much as possible, because as I said, I plan to have a wall that goes from here all the way across to here to stop any bad guys coming from that direction. And if I need it, It's warning me about overheating. If I need it, I'm going to have another wall that starts down here somewhere and goes all the way across to over here somewhere. And if I have to, I can go all the way through to there. But you don't have to, because I can just block off that section there and go through to there, and the creatures won't like chop down trees to get to you. They will try and bash their way through walls, but if there's a clear path for them, particularly a clear path, I think, to a gate, they will try and take that and try and go through the gate. So you can build a maze which they have to work their way through, and then you can have towers attacking them, because this is a bit of a tower defense as well. Oh, look, another little thing. It's another loot box. This may take a bit to get this back to our base. And it may take us a while to find a key for it as well, because the keys don't spawn all that often either. But if we can get a couple of these with keys early on in the game, we will be well set. So as I said last time, the blight spawned in over here at the end of the first night. Hoping it does it again, but if it comes in anywhere around, because it always comes in around the borders somewhere, it doesn't seem to matter where around the border it comes in, I think I'll be ready for it on this map. So that's the plan. Oh, is that another loot box? I'm going to leave that one there. I'm not going to move it around, but I'm keeping an eye out for any other places that might spawn keys. Okay, are we still building? Yes, we are. We're 95% done on the makeshift housing, so that is good. I think these bandages are starting to go bad sitting out in the sun by the looks of it. Okay, so that house has been built. When we click on them, we can see the sort of details about it. The occupancy is there's 3 out of 4 potential people living there, and that currently they've got no food or rations or water buckets or water bottles. We can upgrade all of your buildings, and we eventually are going to do that. I like to start with about 4 houses, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. We haven't claimed that one yet. That was an abandoned building that we hadn't claimed yet, so we need to reclaim that so they can finish building it. It uses less resources than normal to reclaim it. Now, you have this little thing up here is your influence meter, and that allows you to cast these spells. So grabbing resources, you can, if you want to, this freaks I'll just zoom in a little bit, this freaks your little pixels out. So watch this. I can click over here and it grabs a tree, and I can drop it here, and now that's gone from 12 trees needed down to 11. So I can do this, and you'll watch it. See, he's got a little question mark above his head. He doesn't know what's going on. And then eventually, sometimes they will get so freaked out that they will run away with their hands in the air. This one here has run away because they're freaked out. They don't know what's going on. Why is there wood falling from the sky? But it's a way that you can speed up your building. It uses up some of your influence, and the influence, you just gain it back passively over time, but hovering over things that are glittering, except for these little pauses, but there are sometimes little glittering sections in the map, and hovering over them, you basically suck them up with your cursor, and it increases your influence. And as you do things, your influence will go across here, and that allows you to cast these other spells. And there's a whole bunch of spells here, but you only have 5 active at any one time that you're going to use. I find this one, Motivate Land, really useful. What it will do is, after they have chopped down trees or pulled up plants, if you click in that area, they will regrow. Crystal will regrow as well, but of course rocks won't. That's enough of that for now. I think we've built everything except for the stuff that's paused. So let's get one of these farms going, and this water pacifier. I try not to have too many things being built at the same time. Now, you can put priorities on them. So we can see here that this one's at build priority number 6. If we go in our building menu, it is that farm there. It's in the 6th position, and the water purifier is in the 5th position. So either from here, I can click that and move it up to the top, and they will now prioritize building that farm. or from this menu here, I can do that and I can move things around. It also, that priority is also used, I believe, when they're repairing things. So be aware of that if you want to get something repaired quicker. Keep an eye on it, and there we go, a couple of loot boxes there. Yeah, move it to the top of the list and it'll get prioritized for repair. The only thing you can't do that with is walls, because walls don't count as individual items in that building list. Gates do, but walls don't. And that's the other thing we're going to have to do, is we're going to have to put gates in, because if we don't have gates in, our pixels can't get outside of the walled-in area, and we probably want them to be able to do that at some point. Now, I mentioned the trash mechanic, and I could see here there's some trashy trash up here. The results, woody trash and trashy trash and silk and stuff. Well, silk's useful. We'll pick that up eventually, but because we've done some chopping of trees over here, we've produced some trash. So there's the trash section here. There's lots of different things in here, but the first thing I find is useful is to put down some trash cans. So when you put a trash can around, we're going to put one right there, and then we'll probably put another one down here, and we'll put another one over here, and then another one up here. Now unfortunately that's used up all of our building slots, but we won't need more trash cans for a long time, so that's not a big problem. But what it will do is anybody in the game, whether they're builders or whether they're assigned to a farm or whatever, they will pick up trash near them and take it to the nearest trash can. And they have a sphere of influence. If we look at the trash can down here, doesn't tell you. They do have a little sphere of influence around them. Once we've built one of them, it'll tell us. Once you've got that, everyone will go and pick that up. Then, if you put down a landfill, you can actually then assign junk workers, and they will go and empty the trash out of trash cans or any other trash they find lying around, and they'll bring it back to the landfill. Now, the landfill will fill up fairly quickly, so eventually you want to get a burner, which they can use to burn off lots of the different types of trash. Not all trash can be burnt, and you'll also want a processor where they recycle any of the trash that is like woody trash or rocky trash. They will be able to recycle, and you get a small amount of, say, wood or stone or whatever back out of that. So we now have a farm. So what we're going to do is we need farmers. So we're going to put one in. I don't go overboard with this because you don't need a lot of farmers to get the system going. But because we assigned one farmer, that's taken one of the workers we had out of here. So even once we have two farms going, I'm probably initially only going to have one farmer that looks after both farms and see how that goes. And it's only if I start having real problems that I'm going to add more people in. I will need to have several farms going at some point, but one farm initially for the first 20 people seems to be fine. And then I get a second one going. We're going to need to assign some people to the water purification, so hopefully that will come in soon, but I don't think that's going to be quick enough. And I've noticed how long this video has been going for, so I might actually leave that here. This might be a good place to pause. And actually this is interesting because when you pause, it automatically shows you all of these different statistics that you can pick. And so we can see what none of this stuff shows us at the moment. Buildings, how many buildings we've got. Later on, it'll be good to see some of the resources and things like that. In particular, the food and water rate is always useful. You always want that positive. So anyway, that is my first episode of Rise to Ruin. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and leave any comments down below. You can subscribe to keep up with the rest of the episodes in this series, and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.